I think we are ready for our second question of today. And for that, I usually ask, and I will do so again today, Roland to present us with a slide from our original Delphi study. Well, I've seen worse or more complex slides, I suppose, in this, but it's, I suppose, also a bit illustrative of this topic 4 years ago. It surprised many people that it came to number 12 at all, because very few of the examples we're talking now, we didn't have COVID, of course, in 2017, but not that, but many of these applications, don't forget, in 2017, the mobile phone was only in existence for 6 years. Now it's twice as long in existence. That sounds a bit silly, and perhaps it is, but look what we have. The main problem there was on the left hand, well, there's just no priority in it. People don't find it important enough. And why? Well, because the business case didn't sound so good. That's all, of course, because you can, even without a technical background, you can hear savings opportunity and quality improvement opportunity throughout all these stories, but still, that was what's said this day. I think the second arrow that comes to lack of priority, conservatism, is much more the real thing. As was mentioned also earlier on, for decades people have been working in a certain way, pretty much the same way all the time, mostly relying on physical presence of people at the site, their eyes, their hands, their clear minds, and not utilizing technology. Well, that didn't get us out of the tree and into the savannah as humans. We are keen for tools, so that's changing. If you then look at the second arrow going to mobile solution, yeah, you need systems, you need to develop them. And as Sandro explained, that's often not easy. It's not so easy because, developing good systems requires a really, often a fresh look at things and say, hey, we take the web application and we put it on the mobile. That's not enough. So the CMS is, I think, a good example of a back office system which is quite mature for what it used to do in the 1990s and in the first decade. The part of the work order, you could say the ERP of maintenance. Of course, if the back office systems are still very old-fashioned, then these mobile solutions are often difficult to develop. On the other hand, perhaps the back office system can be quite classical, and you have this nice, friendly mobile digital front end. Involvement of IT is another one. I think that's happening now. These are really IT projects as well. You need to run them from the business, sure, because the business has the benefits, but it's also IT. It's not like, hey, I have this hobby and I do this in the weekends. It's a serious project. So this was the story. Yes.
But do you mind if I very quickly pop in? I have to leave, unfortunately, to this call. And maybe I have a slide that I typically use to highlight, because it kind of adds these things and a few more items into it. So,
yeah, I know you have, well, please do so. Roland can take back his slide. I know you don't have until the end, so please.
Yeah. We took a step back with the group and said, we all know the benefits. So why isn't it happening more? And we decided, well, first of all, you need two people, not one person, but it's really two people when you're using synchronous remote collaboration. And these people need to want to work together. And technical people have this thing of, it's my job to fix it and I'm going to fix it. And sometimes even a lack of saying, a vulnerability of saying, hey, maybe there's somebody else who knows this better. So this is not a given. I mean, there's got to be a culture of collaboration. And we also need to know, who can you call to? If you work for a big company, who can you call for help? So this is culture, and also a little investment. And then this investment also, we said, you were just mentioning there, it's the IT group who has to test things. There's security these days. You can't just do stuff. You don't want things to get hacked. And so you have to really take that. You have to buy the hardware, buy the software, train people. And there's so many options out there, both hardware and software. And you can say as a company, you can use anything you want, but that doesn't work in practice. People just want a ready solution. And the last one we found was there are a lot of barriers still, and some really predate from the previous century. Things like you're not allowed a video at site. because you might video something we don't want you to video from an intellectual property point of view. Or it could be we're afraid it will interfere with signals. We come across we're maintaining a list of typical things that we get, barriers that are there, and that can all be addressed. And there's one particular one that's a little thing about value. We've also found that some clients only pay if you're physically at site. So guess what? People travel to site. So there are a lot of little barriers in there, but we found that if all these four come together, it is just amazing what benefits can come. But it takes effort. So it's not it doesn't take two to tango, but it takes four to tango, actually.
It's a great slide, Martijn, and all these are indeed very good arguments. So, so thank you for that. And at any time that you have to leave this roundtable, please feel free to do so. I think the money side, just to add on that, not so long ago we had this an example from healthcare, just to show that it's not specific for factories. An example from healthcare, there was this I think radiologist in a hospital in Groningen who had this new technology of monitoring heart patients remotely, so that they didn't have to, with their weak heart condition, travel. It was pre-COVID, travel to the hospital to be visited. But he got into an argument with his colleagues, because if there are no physical visits of the patient to the hospital, he doesn't get paid. So the diagnose-behandelcombinatie in good English doesn't work. So they had. So in the end, I don't know how it was resolved, but that shows you that if you're only paid for your physical presence and not for the effect of what you're doing, that requires a different way of collaborating indeed. But that's a whole other roundtable, and as we usually find out over the course of a roundtable, actually other roundtables pitch into. The whole idea of performance-based or output-based contracting also ties into this. Okay, other comments to this slide. What other reasons do you see why this is not happening more, or reasons that are no longer correct?
Yeah, I can maybe add some things. What we found out is that what we in the past always try to do is to create everything in one system. So what you see is, for example, a maintenance management system is used for a lot of things, and it's for financial administration, it's for hours, it's for actually for having the spare parts and all the things in. And what you actually see is that when you want to develop a mobile app, you want to actually be very close to the person that's using it. And normally all the software is developed by people developing software and doing administration and those kind of things. So it's a lot from the ERP and the maintenance management system side. But to develop something that people want to use in the field should be really close to them and should be really close to the work, to the job that they do in the field. So what we actually did is actually left a bit the maintenance management system alone, developed the app and later on created the connection. So now we have the connection that if people in the field have a problem and they see an inspection that it's a thumb down, they take a picture and they want to make a report, and they do the reporting actually in the office because they don't want to type a lot, but they want to take the picture and you want to say there's a problem. And once they do the reporting, then they can actually create some connection with the maintenance management system. And through an API, you actually create a work order in the system, and then the things are connected. So you work as one with both systems, but you're really able to develop something very close to the person in the field.
Yeah.
So a reason of not using these things.
Yeah. That indeed is a good point, because as I said in the graph that we had earlier on, it suggested that those back office systems, they need to be, you can't be more mature than they are. So you have to, but perhaps you can just develop a smart interface and have the collecting of the data there. Who wants to say something more about that?
Well, I think that's exactly what we're working for at this current moment at Croonwolter&dros. Because we think you want an app that if you're registering, for example, a preventive maintenance report, not everything that you need to register has to land in your CMMS. There are also some data points that should land in, for example, your common data environment, or maybe let's say what kind of application. So it's exactly what our vision is, we do not want to create an app on top of our CMMS system only. But if we wanted to do that, we could take a native app from, for example, IBM or Ultima or whatsoever and start using that one. No, we want to create an app that really facilitates our technicians inside of the field. That maybe in the nearest future, we can also add some augmented reality, for example, if they need it. But just give them one app to do their job. And not if they open their iPad that they're going to see 20 sorts of apps. So let's see, what do we have to do? Oh, we have to create an inspection. Okay, let's take our inspection app. And it is a completely other user interface than the corrective maintenance app, for example.
And Ron, how do you make really the? I'm reminded of a presentation by a guy from Kone who talked about this in the app they made for their maintenance technicians of all those elevators. He said we've made the maintenance technician the hero of the system. So how do you do that in this case? How do you develop that? To what extent are your people in the field involved actually in developing that app?
Yeah, they're really involved. I make appointments with them, and we're going to sit. What is your perfect situation? And the thing they say, we want that paper work order from 20 years ago back. That's exactly what we want to do when we are registering our maintenance tasks. Simple. Less is more in clicks. Just give them everything they need, not more. Let's not make decisions for them in what we think they need to see. No, just ask them. Make something that fits their needs. And that's exactly what we're trying to do at this particular moment. And it's working pretty well. They feel heard. They get the idea that we're listening to them and not to give them something that we think they need.
Yeah. Does it make a difference that people are now very much used to using mobile apps themselves? I mean, in ordering pizza or is there other things they're asking for their work that they also use in their personal life, or is that less because you're saying, no, I want the ease of registering of that paper thing 20 years ago, but there are also things that spill over from what they do with the rest of the time with their mobile phone.
I think if you look at our company, I think because people are using mobile phones in their daily lives and also applications, the expectations for the apps that you need to develop are quite high.
Yeah.
So they're used to apps that work perfectly fine. Yeah. Just with you only have to click on the app and you get all the information you need. And well, working in more corporate environment, you have to do with IT policy, IT governance, all those kinds of things, which makes it a lot harder. Well, at least within our company, to make those apps just as usable as the apps they use in their daily lives. So I think that's sometimes that can be quite challenging. Looking at the expectations.
Do you hate that or do you like that?
Well, I like it because it sets the bar quite high. So that also that ultimately when they are happy about an app, the quality is also quite good. It brings some extra challenges.
Yeah. What I think is quite interesting is to see what's going to happen with augmented reality. Yeah? So we did actually a pilot with augmented reality. It's already a few years ago, and what we saw happening over there was what also was said before is that actually people that are in the field, do they need help and do they want help from colleagues? But we also saw a lot of technical barrier in using glasses, wearing a helmet with a glass on it, actually being connected with the glasses to the smartphone, and actually the pilot failed. It was used, it could work. We could give instructions from a distance, but the people were not using it. And what we see is that when we went more to smartphone solutions and with apps, that's quite natural for us at the moment. So I expect that if AR is also more accepted in our private world, then the world of maintenance will be, and using AR, augmented reality will really develop quite fast. but the technique is not smooth enough as we are used to work with a smartphone. So actually and you can do a lot with people also looking through your camera and taking pictures and all the things that. So at the moment, I think augmented reality is not, but with glasses is not really adding adding enough to accept all the disadvantages of using the extra technique and having it with you into the field. Yeah. But it might change if also our private world is changing with those kind of solutions.
Yeah, well, take Google Maps. I think it's about 5 years ago that for the first time I was in a foreign city and I used Google Maps to get around. And now I don't have a physical map anymore. And also if I go on holiday or to a strange city, you don't have that map anymore. But you use it basically still as a original map. Although occasionally, it gets more and more precise. It's also important in cities. Do I know if there's this dot on this corner that I'm actually at that corner and not 50 meters somewhere else? But then you switch to street view to see, is it this building? And then you can work around. And then you're really close when you use street view as if you have a digital twin with 360 pictures built up, for instance, of that tunnel. That you can walk through that tunnel looking at, now I must be here, so that must be this installation. If then in that picture of the tunnel you can click on a hot button and you get the specification of the installation there, or you can leave something, yeah, we're getting closer. So from not using Google Maps to using Google Maps to Street View and then a digital twin, there are already several applications where people, bit of houtje touwtje, made a shoestring solutions, made versions of that also in physical infrastructure. So I agree with you. I think we're not far away from that situation. That's not 3 years. That's perhaps just this year.
In all these pilots I did with technical employees of all ages, the technology was adapted very fast because they do apps at home, but also new technologies with hand palm guided systems. It is easily adapted also by 62-year-olds. So it's not that difficult, but it's just let them see in a half a day what it can do and let them experience what they can do with it. And then then also the technician will adapt it. It's not so very difficult for them. It's the availability and the explainability.
Yeah. Well, we automatically, as often happens in these roundtables, move to the third question. What should be happening? What should happen now? Well, what is it that we need to do more?